You'd think the justice system would be all about clear rules and procedures, right? But what happens when you ask a totally simple question about how things work, and the system itself can't seem to give you a straight answer? Let's get into how one little inquiry pulled the thread on a really fascinating and confusing reality. So, it all kicked off with a pretty basic question to a court registry about a legal procedure. And the advice they gave seemed simple enough. Just go to the police, they'll sort you out. But as we're about to see, that was just the first door in a long, winding hallway of confusion. Because when another official was asked about the exact same thing, the answer was completely different. All of a sudden, it wasn't their job. The court staff said, "Hey, we're just the filing agents here." They pushed it right back, saying the procedure belongs to the police and this other group called Crown Counsel. You can already see how the picture starts to get a little muddy. And then a court manager delivers the final handoff. Get this, the courts? Oh, we're only involved at the very end. If you want to know how it all begins, you've got to ask someone else. Now, this isn't just someone giving you the runaround. It points to a serious crack in the foundation of the whole system. So this is the big question, right? Why is it so ridiculously hard to get a clear answer about how our own justice system is supposed to work? To figure that out, we need to meet the players involved. To really get to the bottom of all this confusion, you have to understand that the system is basically built on three big pillars. Each one kind of operates in its own world with its own rules. So let's break them down. Okay, pillar number one, the police. Their job, according to the law, is law enforcement. They're on the front lines, They get the initial complaint, they gather the information, and they put together what's called a report to Crown Counsel. Next up, you've got Crown Counsel. These are the prosecutors, and they are the critical decision makers here. They take that police report and decide, okay, do we have enough to lay charges or move forward with this? Think of them as the gatekeepers standing between a police investigation and an actual courtroom. And the third pillar, of course, is the courts themselves. This is where a justice of the peace or a judge finally gets involved. They're the ones who look at sworn information and make the official calls, like issuing a summons or a warrant. They are supposed to be the impartial referee who applies the law. And here's where the problem really starts. You've got these three separate bodies, and each one has its own set of policies, its own rulebook. And even though they're all supposed to work together in one system, well, we're about to see how the whole process can just get lost in the gaps between them. Now, this specific legal tool at the center of this whole mess is something called a Section 810 peace bond. To really see where the system breaks down, we have to look at how it's supposed to work, by the book. So what is a peace bond? Well, according to the official policy manual, it's a preventative thing. It is not a criminal conviction. It's a court order that's meant to stop potential harm before it happens by putting conditions on someone, all based on a reasonable fear they might commit an offense. The official procedure seems totally logical. It starts when someone says they're afraid of being harmed. That complaint is put into a formal document called an information, which is then sworn in front of a justice. The justice reviews it, and this is the absolute key step, the judicial oversight part. And then, only then, is a summons sent out for the other person to show up in court. Notice the order there. The judge reviews it before anyone gets called to court. But that's the process on paper. That's the theory. Now let's see what happens in reality, where the actions of the government seem to completely ignore the official rulebook. This is the question that just cracks the whole case wide open. If a judge has to review everything before issuing a summons, then how in the world is a police officer handing out court appearance notices before a judge has even seen the file? It means the whole process is happening completely backwards. And the answer, that the smoking gun, was discovered by digging into one single publicly listed court file. This one file tells you everything you need to know about how the process on paper gets completely flipped on its head in practice. Okay, check this out. It's a tale of two files. Publicly, on the Court Services website, file number 45248 is listed as a Section 810 peace bond, the non-criminal thing. But internally, on the court's own system, that exact same file number is for a serious criminal charge, uttering threats. And that's the big reveal. This whole thing didn't start out as a peace bond application at all. It started as a criminal charge. The first warrant was for that charge. But what the public was shown was something else entirely. The true origin of the file was basically hidden from public view. So why does any of this matter? Look, this isn't just about some clerical error. This procedural switcheroo happening somewhere in the gaps between the police, the crown, and the courts has some really big consequences for transparency and accountability. When the system is operating in these disconnected silos, the public record becomes, well, unreliable. The real story of a legal case gets buried. And that's what leads to the exact confusion that started this whole thing. It makes holding any single department accountable almost impossible because nobody has the full picture. And you don't just have to take my word for it. This quote from that court manager trying to explain the problem says it all. She straight up admits she can't explain the whole process because she only knows her one piece of it. The police, the crown, the courts, they all have their own policies, and no one, it seems, is responsible for the complete story. Which leaves us with one final, really important question. If each pillar of the justice system is only minding its own little shop, who is actually responsible for making sure the process is followed correctly from start to finish? And maybe more importantly, who's responsible for making sure the story told to the public is actually the true one?